Hello, hi, namaste, and I am so happy to publish the fourth episode of the podcast series Unpacking Authenticity. I will not be able to publish without thanking each one of you with the amazing support, encouragement, feedback that you have provided for all the three episodes and especially the last episode. So, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Today, I have a very, very interesting personality, Kanika Kohli, who specializes in enabling individuals and organizations unlock their minds from past situations and embrace a growth mindset to create a beautiful future. She believes that mental agility is key to mental well being and growth. By detaching from the old patterns and mindfully exit, we can progress and thrive. With a rich background of 2 decades in coaching, entrepreneurship, and leadership, Kanika Kohli brings a wealth of experience to guide you on her journey as well as yours. Her PhD thesis explores role of mindfulness to drive individual performance. So stay tuned, stay geared for an amazing episode of Unpacking Authenticity with Kanika Kohli. Hi, Kanika.
Hello, Moumita.
So, how have you been?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, very excited and very happy to be with you in this conversation, that too on authenticity, Kanika. I think that's something that we both connect to. And I thought, why not get in and maybe talk a little bit, and that could help some of our listeners, understand authenticity a little more. What do you say?
Okay. Okay, sure. If we
Okay.
can understand it, I experience it.
Maybe let's try unpacking it the way Kanika looks at authenticity. So, first comes to first,
Yes.
how do you
Yes.
see authenticity?
Um, so um I think authenticity is just being natural. Your natural self, connected to yourself, connected to your being, which is very important. So it's like the inner awareness and really translating that in your interactions and interacting with your environment with that awareness and natural self.
Yeah,
That seems to be a good understanding and observation of authenticity.
yeah.
And I also see that it is beyond just the verbal and non-verbal. Authenticity is something which also comes across as a energy and vibe of a person. Like when you reached out, we discussed about authenticity. It was a very brief conversation that you and I we had before that, and the interaction was about that. That the vibe about the interaction was very authentic when you and I we had interacted, and that connected with you at that point. So I think vibe is very important. That's also something that I see as authenticity, representing authenticity. Yeah.
Yeah. I think very well articulated. And one of the questions that comes to my mind, Kanika, is we all carry our natural selves, but in this world of corporate where we are trying to modify ourselves in different situations with different kinds of people, where how do we know which is the natural self? Because you use the word natural, just being yourself. How do you find out that which is that authentic Momita or which is that authentic Kanika?
That's a very beautiful question. I think it's not something. So, the best people who are authentic are the children, before the conditioning starts to happen.
Yes.
So, I think it's like as we grow up and the conditioning, really the layers of conditioning gets onto us, and we start to move away from our natural self,
Mm.
then it's not easy. So you are right. Uh, so I think there are a few things that one needs to do, which is first thing is to realize that, yeah, I do not know what my authentic self is. That sometimes requires a lot of reflection, staying connected to people who you've grown up when you were a child, your friends from school. They can actually really help you connect with who you have been as a child, and that helps you reflect back and do that work to really write down, who am I? What does Kanika stand for? Um, yeah, so I think it's a lot of self work, it's reflection, it's introspection, it's being with yourself. It has become all the more important because we have so many distractions in our life. We see so many of us, just like the day we find that we are free, let's just engage on something, with something, for something, etc., etc. So our calendars are usually full. How many times do we really say, okay, let me shift from FOMO to JOMO, not have fear of missing out, and let's have joy of missing out. Let me just be like, okay, no distractions today. I'm going to be with myself. So I think that becomes a very important starting point to recognize and then work on how to realize what is my natural self and where do I connect with the authenticity that lies within me.
I love the word where you said FOMO to JOMO because I can somehow connect. If I'm authentic, I will perhaps I'll never have the FOMO, right? There's no fear of missing
Yeah,
out because I've chosen to be somewhere else. So obviously I'm happy there, and that's, I
yeah.
think, clarifies the term FOMO. When people talk about FOMO, I'm not able to connect to that too much, that fear of missing out and joy of being there. I think joy, making that choice. One of the questions that I generally come across in sessions, Kanika, and I'm sure with your interaction with people, you also do that. While we start with the authentic self, we all start, and you highlighted the examples of children, and then the conditioning, and then the reconditioning that happens once we enter a particular field, and then again there's a change. So childhood to teenage to adult, right? Everyone goes through a lot of changes. How does one maintain that authentic self? So being aware is I understand, but how can I be consistent in that?
Okay, so I don't really have a cheat sheet or any kind of steps or something on that. I can definitely share my experience. I think in my experience of both living my life and also experiencing things and people and situations, I think that it is very difficult across the stages of our life. It is difficult for us to be consistent, because there are certain core things which are always going to stay the same. But as human beings, we are ever changing, ever evolving. So it's very difficult for us to be consistent all through. So, by that, in that context, I feel that one cannot say that you're consistent. And also, I feel that I could be my definition of self could be different in different contexts. I may be a different self and completely authentic when I'm with my family, my circle of trust. When and I may be completely different and yet be authentic in my being and my self in a, say, a professional setup, or a maybe a group of acquaintances. It's going to be completely different, and it may vary in all of these situations, and all of that is authentic self. So this I'm talking about when I'm keeping the age, or just shifting the context, keeping the age bracket the same, age, the person, the level of evolution the same. Now, since you asked me the question about how can one be consistent across the age groups from childhood to teenage to adults, and also then phases in that, I feel a lot depends on the parenting. A lot depends on the the childhood that we've had. How we've been asked to see ourselves. If somebody's always been appreciating us or telling us you're good enough, you're great, whatever you do is good for you, it's okay to fail. If you're hearing all of those things, it just allows you to integrate your complete self within, right? Your good and bad parts. But if, on the other hand, if you've had things which have been opposite, which have been very negative statements, then a person may start to feel, while something within the child tells the child that I'm great, but the narrative that is coming from outside is different. So then the authentic self takes a lot more effort and time to really integrate back. But in the end, that's why a lot of inner child work happens, a lot of, in the adulthood, a lot of all that work happens that we all do. So at the end of the day, it's about the self work. So of course the childhood, the upbringing, etc., have a role. At the end of the day, there will be something which needs to be integrated within, and that requires that sitting with self and reflecting and introspecting again.
I guess I agree to you a little bit on the consistency bit because that's something that, I was connecting to a school friend of mine, and she said, "Who's this girl? We don't know you. You are not what you used to be in school." And I was a very quiet, shy, introvert kind of person who would hardly, have little groups. And now you know what I'm doing. So obviously, she saw me in a workshop and she was like, "Moumita, is that you?" So that's the question that I had, maybe, and I read the way you said in different stages, people would be their authentic self, and also in different situations, depending on. And that is where it comes if possibly you are someone who's dealing with the same person in different scenarios, and that person's question comes in like, now, which is the authentic one? How do I gauge, is she the one whom I met during breakfast, or is she the one whom I met during lunch? Because lunch was a different situation and breakfast. And why I'm asking you this is, Kanika, because a lot of us want to be authentic. And I'm sure everyone, even including me, not even want, we are authentic anyways. We are born authentic. It's just that we start kind of looking at life that, oh, this is not okay here. So let me not show myself here, and let me, kind of bring in a different self. And that's where we keep, or maybe I keep losing myself. So I know there are no clear steps to become authentic. I know that. And that's possibly why I'm doing this series of unpacking authenticity and looking at it different. But when I know my values, my beliefs, how do I ensure that I always align my behavior on it? Because that's what authenticity is for me. Like, it's all in one line. What has worked for you in this area?
Well, that's a beautiful question. And I feel that, when I said that we could be different people in different contexts and stages of life, I also mentioned that there are certain things which are definitely going to be same. And that's where the idea of value and beliefs come in, right? So values and beliefs are that golden thread which are really tying the authentic self to something. It's anchoring. It's the anchor that is there. So as I'm really answering, I'm also reflecting back on my life, and I'm really thinking that I do not remember situations where I've really compromised on my values and beliefs. I may have responded differently, and that's where the IQ and the EQ comes into picture. For, nobody says that being authentic means that you are just showing your emotions, or you're saying things which may not be the most appropriate, or may not be the wisest thing in that moment, right? So we use the IQ, the intelligence, and the emotional quotient in that place to really respond. So our while we are okay, so let me take a step back. So when we say authentic self, it's like, do am I aware of my internal self, the process which is happening within, and am I aligned in my response? Am I being choiceful in my response? So I may be feeling like this is really ridiculous. I don't agree with that. While in one context, I may retaliate, rebut, and have an argument on that. In another situation, I may feel that this is not my battle. I don't need to really get into that. Let it be. Now that's where the IQ and the EQ is playing out, right? So, but that I'm doing this as a choice. I'm doing this in full awareness, and that also means that the say and do of our life. I remember once a friend during a in fact, now a friend, that time acquaintance, in one of the workshops I'd been to, he mentioned, Kanika, I'm just surprised that your say and do is so aligned to who you are. And I didn't know what he meant at that time because I'd not done that kind of self work. Uh, but today I kind of understand what that meant. When I do things with a lot of awareness, it's like, yeah, your say and do is similar.
Like say is equal to do, and that's authenticity. I think that's perfectly put over there. And thank you for clarifying that authenticity is not being rude. Thank you for
Yeah,
clarifying that we need our emotional intelligence, as you said, EQ, IQ. Because I'm
yeah,
authentic, I don't get to do whatever I want to. I don't get to say whatever I want to. Because it is in the context, and authenticity also comes with a lot of respect for each other. So if I'm authentic to myself, I also respect the other person's authenticity. So here is the next question. What is the relationship that you see of authenticity, integrity, and ethics?
well, so okay, so I think whenever you're authentic, you act from a place of that complete alignment within. Integrity will always be there. So it's I think the authentic self gets manifested. The quality is integrity, or the manifestation is integrity in a person, and that's also a value, right? So as long as you're consistent with what you feel and what you're doing, what your response is, as long as that is aligned, it is integrity. And it's also like how you treat yourself and how you treat others, how aligned that is also integrity. Well, ethics, I feel, is a totally connected, but at the same time it's on the periphery of for me, it's on the periphery of values and beliefs, and perhaps, it's again a manifestation, as I can think of. You know, yeah, am I ethical in a certain, and there are certain boundaries as well on that, right? How I hold certain beliefs and values in my life. So I think it is kind of an intersection between that and the the integration of inner and outer self.
Yeah, because ethics, as I understand, it's definitely deep down in terms of the way, something ethical for me. It could be as simple as a maybe traffic signal, right? Ethics
Yeah,
and integrity there, signal not there, and we just jump into, and you see that so often these days. So, and that's, for me, it's okay. No one is there, no one is watching. That's ethics, but that's not ethics in a way. It's aligned with my own values and belief system, and everyone may have their own perception. So I like the way you said it's in the periphery because it may differ with a person's experience and
yes,
exposure, yeah, to the way he or she sees life. Yeah, yeah. Um, while we are dwelling in it, and I'm not getting into the, kind of trying to preach this authenticity when I launched the podcast, whoever I spoke, oh my God, authenticity, what does that mean? And we started our conversation with it. Kanika, tell me something. You have been around and you have been interacting with so many people. Why do people make such a big thing out of it? Is it not the way we live? Is it not the way we are? Why is it taken as a jargon and people kind of shy away from talking about it, from unfolding it? And they have to literally stand and say, I'm genuine, I'm honest here. You don't have to say that when you are authentic. So, what has been your experience?
I'm going to say a very unpopular or a very controversial thing here because that's what I believe. I really believe when words start to come in conversations, that's when we've lost, the whole purpose of it. The moment I have to tell you that I respect you means you were not experiencing it already. So the moment I have to say that I'm authentic and genuine, that means you were not experiencing that. Or I am trying to justify. A lot of things that we say to others is also something that we are listening, right? So we are also telling this to ourselves. So I have a very different viewpoint. I mean, you would never find me say that, okay, I'm authentic. I'm like, I don't know. I just like when you mentioned to me, I said, so when you said that share your experiences of how you are authentic, I'm like, I don't know any other way. So I don't even know whether that is authentic or no, but this is me. Take it or leave it, right? So that's what my thought is on that.
And very well put, take it or leave it. And that's precisely the challenge when I speak that just be yourself. And so, what are the pros and cons, Kanika? Because this is your way of life, and that's why we are in conversation. So, what are the challenges? Maybe some challenges that you see being authentic that maybe you would advise somebody to take care of.
Well, I think that when you're authentic, you need to have emotional quotient and IQ as well, along with that, because and I have learned it the hard way because as a kid I was and as a teenager in my early years of my career, I have been a person who's been um, just saying it out or blurting things out as calling a spade a spade. I mean, I'm not saying that don't do that, but the point is that with life and with experiences, one tends to actually use some amount of intelligence, wisdom, and also compassion along with that. One also starts to understand that there could be different perceptions, different life, worldviews, and different life situations for a person. So one starts to accept all of that. So I think it comes with experience, but I've also seen a few people who always have that. They are like authentic at the same time they're like but then compassion, kindness, empathy, all of those things are like really oozing out of those people. Having said that, I've also seen that a lot of harmony oriented and empathetic people also tend to blur the boundaries. So there's a very interesting thing that comes around with authenticity, which is the boundaries. Are you in doing so, are your boundaries very high? Are your boundaries blur? Are your boundaries like not there? Or what is the situation with your personal boundaries and your interactions with yourself and your environment? So I think that becomes very important. So coming to the point that you said pros and cons, according to me, I mean, since I've not changed, I've not manipulated, I don't see any cons really, because otherwise, I mean, I'm an intelligent and a reasonable person, so I would have definitely made the amends, but I've not done that. Um, but yes, I have definitely honed my skills on being more emotionally wise, and with life and experiences, one has become a lot more understanding and giving benefits of doubt, and also the worldview expands. So I think that definitely happens with the generation at the moment. I think it is important to really have that expanded worldview and different perceptions and perspectives in life to be able to develop that kind of authentic self. And I also feel the generation these days is very authentic. They are just like, but to reaching the boundary of being a bit more curt and really straightforward. But yeah, so
That's on the other end. So I deal with a teenager every
yeah.
day and tell me about authenticity and tell me about the boundaries. And I have to literally tell, you can say the same thing in a little acceptable manner if you can, choice of word. And I guess you've been honest enough in saying that this is how you are, and the pros. I like the way you spoke about there are no cons, and it's all pros. But one important aspect of authenticity, and that's something that I have personal experience for me has been that yes, if this is how I am, I need to be also prepared that everything may not go my way. I am authentic does not mean everyone else around me. So I cannot take that as a, like, everybody has to be authentic. And that's one of the challenges that I see with a lot of people, getting disillusioned with that obsession that when I am like this, why are others not like that? And that's where, there are a lot of people who come in and say, I was like this, Moumita. This particular XYZ event just changed me. And, I have not been able to go back. So what would be your maybe suggestions for such people or for such situations, Kanika?
Well, I can again share my experience. I think that I don't, when authenticity is not a role play for me. That, oh, something happened, an event happened, and now my role has changed. So it's like, uh, for me, I am, as I said, as I started to say, that it's important that one is integrated within and outside, and in that you're being choiceful of how you're responding to the situation and your environment with a lot of wisdom, compassion, and mindfulness. I think at the end of the day, you have to live with yourself. Who are you doing it for? Are you doing it for other people, or are you doing it for yourself, right? Are you being authentic so that others can experience you in a certain way, or are you being authentic because that's the only way you I mean, if you ask me how inauthentic would you be, Kanika, I wouldn't know. I mean, what would inauthentic be? Because see, I may evolve, and my thought process, I may choose this today and over the other thing, but that would just mean that I have evolved. It would not mean that in the moment, if I'm feeling like having something, if I feel like having an apple at this moment, but yesterday I had told you, oh, I don't like eating apple, it does something wrong to me. It doesn't mean that, I was being inauthentic yesterday or today. It's just about that, okay, fine. Yesterday I was being authentic, today I'm being authentic, I want to have an apple. So it's like, it's about being, so then you don't have to justify, you're doing it for yourself, right?
Yeah.
So who are you justifying it to? You just have to be mindful and being aware with yourself. And I have seen that a lot of people start to trust you because of just that, that
Mm.
whatever it is, this person is, and you believe it. As I said, it's more than your words and non-verbal
Yeah.
and verbal communication. It's your vibe. So it tells you.
Yeah. Yeah, that vibe definitely. And vibe, we connect even on virtual mode. The vibes are that strong at times. You just kind
Yeah.
of figure out, yeah, what's working out, what's not working out. Awesome, Kanika. I think I enjoyed this authentic conversation with you. What do you think, maybe, people who are still not seen authenticity or not come across people who are authentic, how would you suggest how should they or how would they know that the others are being authentic? Of course vibes, of course their behavior, of course their actions, of course the comfort that they carry with themselves. I understand all of that, but still, as you said, the generations today, they are very authentic, but at times that authenticity is not read in the right way. So what would be your suggestions, maybe 2 cents on this?
Well, I just feel that authenticity is not something that anyone is doing for anybody, or anybody is assessing anyone else's authenticity, right? So it's like that all all any one of us can do is to really focus on ourselves. So the day we shift the focus on ourselves and we start to say, am I integrated as a person of what I say, do, believe, and what are my values? Am I integrated? Are there any gaps? And that requires some kind of work, right? Like, it's important. I urge people, so many of my coaches or training or any consulting assignment, in this kind of work, we always say, okay, write down the top 10 values, just, the values exercise. Then out of that, you rate everything. And then top three, what are your top three values? What are your belief systems? What is something that is absolutely important to you? And those become your anchor points then. that is where you are anchored in, and that becomes your kind of a hook where you, or the starting point, where you always keep coming back to. This is my prime point. I'll come back to my prime point. This is where, whenever I'm okay, this is where I'm for sure that this is what works for me, and this is my prime point. I'm going to be here. So I think that's how one needs to look at. And if you're connected with yourself, you'll be connected with everybody. So it's like how you all we can really do is to train our attention. What are we paying attention to? What is the quality of that attention? I mean, again, as a student of mindfulness, attentive awareness is something which always comes to me like in every conversation. So what is the quality of your attention, and what is that attention telling you? What is it making you aware of? That is very important. And yeah, so I think once we are attentively aware of our own inner and outer processes, um, it's the battle won.
Yeah.
We can connect with others as well, and we don't need to assess anyone else.
I think this is beautifully put. Most of the time we keep looking outside, I think, but the journey starts within. And if I'm able to start there itself, the entire landscape changes for me because I'm seeing of myself and automatically I'm able to see the authentic people around me. Kanika, you know, I love listening to you. I love talking to you. I can continue talking to you on this topic as well. But with
Yeah.
this time, I was trying to keep it short. Anything else that you would like my listeners to know around authenticity or around anything?
I just think just be authentic, and it's worth it. It's worth it. The kind of experience that you'll get within, the kind of feeling that I feel within, it's really worth staying that way.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we need to keep ourselves company,
Wonderful. Wonderful.
and we
Thank
need
you.
to be a good one, right?
Yeah. Be it the mirror or be the virtual screen, we need to be the good one.
Yes.
Yes. And love ourselves
Yes.
for that. So thank you so much, Kanika. Thanks a ton.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here on such an important topic, authenticity. It's really interesting. Thank you.
I'm sure you loved the episode on unpacking authenticity. Yes, it does make one reflect on the various perspectives shared by the guest today. Do share in your suggestions, your feedback, and all the social medias, which will help me improve this show for you. Look forward to more and keep watching this space for unpacking authenticity with Moumita.